Hi, I'm Christina, and this is New Ways Podcast. Today, our guest is a lifestyle and pulp culture content creator, Tyler Wells, aka Coachella King.
Hi, Christina.
Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. This is my first official podcast appearance.
How do you feel?
Nervous but excited.
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Honestly, I was telling you, this is something I'm truly excited for because I met Tyler on the roof of my building, not knowing anything really about this man. And I can say over the past few weeks that I have known him, he is such a genuine person. And I'm so excited to dig in and show the world who you are besides just your brand.
Thank you. And it's been so amazing the short span I've known you. You've been so sweet and supportive, and we love you.
I love you too.
We love you.
That's why this podcast is going to be so great, you guys. I can feel the love. And let's get into it then. You've had a crazy month, has it been?
Month, like an entire month. It's been insane.
Yes.
But so much fun.
This man has been to both weekends of Coachella when you were only planning on going to one. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely only one.
And it turned into two.
Which turned into three.
Well, yeah, because you had that not short encounter. You've had now many encounters with Paris Hilton out of the blue.
Yeah.
And she sent you to Stagecoach after that.
She sent me to Stagecoach within 24 hours of her performing. She performed on that Friday and reached out on that Thursday being like, hey, would love for you to come live with me in the desert. Just from me putting it out there that I was sad I was missing Stagecoach, and I found out she was performing, and I was like, I'm so sad I can't be there. And then I see she follows and she comments, hey, come live with me in the desert. And then the next thing I'm there backstage with Jeff Bezos and Lizzo and yeah.
And Benny Blanco.
Yeah,
I've been following you, and honestly, it's been such an amazing journey to watch. And I'm like, how are you surviving? It's like one thing after another, one event after another, all out of the blue.
Yeah.
This came from you just going to Coachella once.
Yes.
And I really do. We're going to dig deep in the next episode about your creator journey and how you started off. But we spoke about this. What I love about this podcast and what I'm trying to do is I really want to get people a sense of who you are underneath your brand.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a story, right?
Of course.
And yours is a very interesting one also.
Minus the Coachella, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about that then. Who is Tyler Wells? How did you start off, I guess, content creating? What sparked your interest in it?
I've been on social media literally since MySpace. Like my first social media account was MySpace at the age of 8. And
MySpace.
MySpace. Like what a time, what
God.
an era. And I guess in hindsight, that's a really young age to be on social media, like curating an image on a social platform. But I just loved it. Like I loved tweaking my profile. I loved editing all of my pictures. And I used to do extensive, crazy edits. Like, they looked wild. But yeah, and in hindsight, I found this out yesterday when we did like the little pre-interview.
Mm-hmm.
I put two and two together that my home life was very unstable growing up. And it makes perfect sense that I turned to social media to create like not a distraction, but an alternate reality where everything could be perfect and everything could be happy and I could create the life I didn't have in reality.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's like social media nowadays is such a blessing and a curse because it has its benefits and it has its not so beneficial things about it. But what I've realized about a lot of creators is they create a persona in order to kind of escape their reality as a young teen. I know with me, I was even like hiding in my basement reading, like making up dances because I just didn't like being around my family. So tell me about that then. How was your family life?
My parents were married for 11 years. And when I was in the 5th grade, they divorced. And it was because my dad couldn't hide the fact that he was gay. My dad came out of the closet.
So how old were you then when your dad came out?
I was 12. I was in the 5th grade, and it was like a couple days after Christmas. So that definitely turned everything upside down in the family. And I didn't know at the time that I was gay. But when that happened at a young age, I internalized being gay as being a bad thing because I saw the divorce that came from it and how it broke up the entire family. So that definitely like made me suppress my sexuality. I didn't end up coming out until the day after senior prom of high school when I knew I would be moving away to a new city for college. So, yeah, home life was like we had troubles financially. I'm the oldest of two little sisters, so I've always had the most responsibility. And I think that definitely shaped me in a lot of ways. I had to mature a lot quicker than most people my age. And having that responsibility from such a young age, I think, is what gave me the head on my shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a blessing and a curse for my current life, I guess. But yeah, it all just kind of shaped like the person I am today. But it was a ride for sure.
That sounds like a ride. So backtracking a little bit, can you tell me your emotional state when, for one, your parents got a divorce and then you find out at such a young age when you don't even know too much about sexuality to begin with? How did you feel when your parents got divorced and then you're like, oh, my dad doesn't even like women and he's been married to one for 11 years? Like, what did that do to your psyche?
That is it right there, because I grew up before that. I don't really remember before he came out. Like I remember my parents being together and I remember I saw them like kissing. I remember I saw my parents kiss and stuff like that. And so after he came out, I was like, was that all a lie? Hyper aware of the fact that that was most likely a lie and all the things I saw pre him coming out, because it flipped after that. They despised each other and we grew up around their fighting, and we're just in the mix of like my parents also had me when they were 20. So they were literally children, and that the older I get, the more I realize that they were doing the best they could with what they had. So yeah, it was tough, and it's no secret I turned to something like social media to escape from what was really going on in my real life.
Yeah. Well, especially too, and I don't know if this was your case. I know a lot of people might relate to this, but when your parents have so much going on in their own life, in a way it can feel like you're overshadowed by their own trauma that they're creating by themselves. So as a child, when you really just want your parents' approval and you want their love and support, they're too fixated on their own life to even like give you the attention you need. So you feel neglected and 100%. You have to create that space for yourself in order to feel like you're worthy of being who you are.
100%. And again, now at the age of 28, I don't fault them because again, they were doing the best they could with the tools that they had. I remember when I was younger being so resentful, like, well, I didn't choose to be brought into this world. Like, you know, we judge them like, you should have done this, you should have done that. But people can't do what they're not capable of doing. If they don't have the tools or never learn the tools, and they have children, they aren't able to pass on those tools to their children.
Yeah.
And our generation, I think, is the first to be aware of those kind of things and actively want to break those cycles. And I'm for sure one of them.
Yeah. And that's something that I'm so hopeful and grateful for these days, is it's like, I do believe that you can only do the best with the resources that you do have. But once you do know better and once you are an adult, I'm sorry, your life is in your own hands. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't play a victim mentality anymore.
Right.
Because it's just like, there's no adult there telling you, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. You're the one now telling you, no, you can't.
It's up to you and only you.
Yeah. And it creates like you living up to your parents' standards that they created for themselves creates oftentimes, we've talked about, right, limiting beliefs. Because you like confine yourself to the box that they showed you, they created for themselves. And you're like, you get to be like, no, I don't want to live in this box anymore. Like, screw that. I'm sorry, but it's not the life I want to live. You, if anything, I'm grateful for my parents because I'm like, not to be this, but you're showing me what not to do.
Exactly.
You don't look happy and I want to be happy.
Right. And even like the way my parents grew up thinking about money, like they, even still to this day, will say things like, oh, I'll never be able to afford that, or I can't afford that. And I don't even want to be in the same room as thoughts like that anymore now. I saw the beliefs that I inherited from them, and respectfully, no hate, but I don't want to think that way. And so I actively choose, like, sometimes I catch myself with those thoughts and I'm like, wait, this isn't my own thought. This is something I've inherited from my parents or whoever. And I don't associate with that. I don't want that. Like, I choose to believe that money or whatever it is always coming to me. And once you align with that mindset, everything falls into place.
It does.
It does.
Like I told you this, I'm a firm believer, whatever you believe, you're 110% right. I don't know. I believe in energetic law, and we talk about manifesting all the time and taking the necessary steps. But if you don't believe it, you're not going to even take the first step.
Right.
You're going to stay still. So question for you too then, how did you kind of flip that mindset? What made you be like, no, I'm walking and living my own path?
I'm still doing it to this day. I'm still doing it. I mean,
is there any trick, or was it just like you making that decision and doing your best to stick with it and move forward in a way that's like true to you?
I think being in therapy for sure helps.
Okay.
And doing digging on all of this. Like, therapy helps you realize what you've inherited and what has been passed down consciously or subconsciously. And yeah, I mean, just a year ago, I realized that I had fallen into a pattern of being a caregiver because I had assumed that role as a young child. And then in my adult life became a celebrity personal assistant where I'm taking care of adult celebrities as a 25-year-old who barely, like, I'm still navigating life.
You're like, I don't even know how to take care of myself sometimes.
And hadn't been. So I'm still learning, like, what I don't want to hold on, what I choose to let go of. And we'll probably continue to do that until the day I die.
Yeah. I mean, well, like, life is a journey, is it not? Like, the one thing that is consistent is the fact that nothing is consistent. So it's like, no, it's not. I love when people ask me this. They're like, when is it going to get easier? When is it going to go away? I'm like, babe, it's never going to go away. It's going to get easier though, because the more resources and tools you've learned, the easier it is to handle it. But
yeah,
if you're lucky, you'll forever have some type of hardship because that means you're growing.
Right.
You know, so I love that you have that outlook on it. And then kind of following along the chain of events, let's talk about, in a way, you spreading your wings, right? Going to college, coming out, and for the first time, essentially owning who you truly are.
Yeah.
Back to that, I'm curious. When did you first know you were gay then?
I mean, if we're really being honest, like,
yes, we are.
Yes,
we are.
I've always from a young age, like, watched certain.
You're okay. You guys, we have Howie in the studio, just letting you know if you hear that. If you hear a dog bark.
You guys got mail.
We've got
from
mail.
a young age, I always watched certain X-rated videos.
Okay.
But I remember from a young age watching it and being like, no, I'm not though. I just watched this because whatever. Like, there was always an excuse. Like, I remember it going like phase to phase. Like, okay, maybe I would kiss a guy, but nothing more. I would never date one. Like, I remember having
Were
thoughts.
you bargaining with yourself a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I thought it was bad because I saw how it broke up my parents and family. But it wasn't because of that. It was because they divorced. Like, divorce does that.
If anything, it might have been because your father wasn't okay with owning who he was from the get-go. I mean, I'm happy, like, not to be this person in a way. I'm happy that he didn't, because now we have you as a lovely result of it, and everything does happen for a reason.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Like, if he had been true to himself from day one, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So happy he's living his best life. But I remember just as I got older, like 16, 17, it was really senior year of high school when I knew I would be moving away to Santa Barbara for college. I knew I would, because I got made fun of a lot in high school. Like, everyone knew. No matter how deep I made my voice, no matter, I hung out with all girls, like, everyone knew. So everyone was literally just waiting for me to come out. But I think knowing that I was moving away from my hometown really encouraged me to make that step. So I did the day after senior prom, the day after taking one of the prettiest girls in my class to prom, someone who all the people who made fun of me and called me slurs, they wanted to go with her, and she said yes to me. And then I came out a day later. So the gay boy got her.
I do love that for you, though.
No,
I'm not going to lie.
I
love that for
yeah.
you. I know it might sound a little toxic, but like, yes.
Just, you know, it's a nice little like, to the people who used to make fun of me.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, though, too, it just shows your character. I feel like that you can do something like that. And I guarantee you she chose to go with you because of who you are. You know what I mean?
Aw.
You're like, if everybody knows, but she still wanted to be there to like have a fun time with you.
Yeah.
Like that shows a lot.
I'm like, or did she think I really liked her? I don't know.
But you said she was supportive about it.
Well, when I told her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. Anyways, you got the gorgeous girl. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
So 2 days after prom.
Yes.
And then you decide to move away for college. What made you decide to go away?
I wanted an escape from all the responsibility in my family life I had. Like I wasn't really allowed to do like hang out with friends much because I always had to babysit my sisters after school because my mom was working. So I just had a lot of responsibility and I was ready to like spread my wings and go be free in like a beach town community because I grew up in the Bay Area and beach trips you would have to do like an entire day just to go to a beach that was cold and foggy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just SoCal seemed so appealing to me. And I of course watched Zoe 101 growing up. And the school where I ended up going, Santa Barbara City College, literally looks like PCA from Zoe 101.
Did you know that before you went there?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so you did your research?
I toured it and everything. I toured the campus. I looked at pictures. And yeah, so I ended up going there and I moved away to Santa Barbara in 2015. And it literally was a new chapter for me to be whoever I wanted to be as this new openly gay self. And literally that time of my life in Santa Barbara was the time to experiment and try all kinds of different things and just all the things I wasn't really able, like I didn't drink or smoke or do any of that in high school because I had so much responsibility. So moving away, I'm in a new town, I'm living on my own, I'm living for myself. It was just such an amazing, like liberated time.
Yeah, for sure. You had to figure everything out and kind of navigate and find out like the life you want to live. So from speaking with you briefly though, it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed like you didn't have too much of a plan, to be honest with you. You were kind of living by faith and everything did fall into place in the most unique, odd, but fabulous way.
When I moved to Santa Barbara?
Yeah, because you're like, I had no plans of being an assistant. Like, and that's
No.
essentially, it's all just like, you don't see how things are getting pieced together until you look back and you're like, oh shit, it's brought me to where I am today.
Right.
Because being an assistant was a huge part
Yeah.
of your life.
Yeah.
And you would have never got that opportunity if you didn't go to college, meet this person who introduced you to the family that you were going to first start assisting with.
Yeah.
So tell me kind of how that played out.
I was a barista. So I started out as a barista in the Bay Area at Starbucks. That was my first job. And I transferred down to Starbucks in Santa Barbara. That's where I met my best friend Dia, who's over there on that couch. So yeah, everything did fall into place there. And in one of my city college classes, I met a girl in my class who I told her I worked at Starbucks, and all she said was I work for a rich woman in Montecito. Didn't think anything of it. The class ended. Months later, she texts me and she's like, hey, are you looking for a new job? And I was like, not really. Why?
Out of the blue. She texts you. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, not really. Why? What do you do again? I forgot. And she was the family assistant to the Baldwin family, Alec Baldwin's brother, Billy Baldwin, and his wife, China Phillips. And I told my mom, and she listened to the band that China was in growing up, Wilson Phillips. And she's like, you have to do it. You have to do it. And I guess that was one of my biggest leaps of faith, was going from being a barista, my first job ever, to all of a sudden being an assistant. And they lived in Santa Barbara, so it like wasn't in LA. It was super chill, and I was like the family assistant, so I did things for them and for the kids, and it was probably the best job I've ever had, because from day one they just took me into their family, and China was the sweetest boss I've ever had, and like a family member, and she would cook for me, and it almost was like the mother figure I didn't have. Like she gave that like emotional love and support that I felt like I didn't have growing up. And it was a beautiful, beautiful role. And I still talk to them to this day. But yeah, it was so different going from being like a barista to all of a sudden being an assistant. Like, but I navigated well because of how kind they treated me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, I feel like you probably handled that situation really well also because you didn't know it then, but like your childhood taking care of your siblings and at a young age having to have those responsibilities.
Yeah.
It made you kind of like the perfect mindset to do that for other people at such a young age. Because once I got in college, I'm like, even now I'm 30 and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know how I get through my daily life sometimes, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But question then end up starting out a little bit again is, what was going through your head when somebody offered you a job when you're like, I'm a barista? How the heck am I going to be an assistant? I don't have any past history in this.
Honestly, I think it wasn't framed when I got that job as an assistant role. It was so like, I just work for someone who is famous. Like I knew who the Baldwins were, but the role didn't become a personal assistant like so hefty until I moved to LA.
Okay.
That's when it became an entirely different beast. Being an assistant in LA versus Santa Barbara, a sleepy beachside community, very different. Very, very different.
Okay, talk to me about that.
So we decided to move to LA from Santa Barbara in 2021 because
Who's we?
Dia and I.
Dia, okay.
Dia and I.
Dia's waving. She's on the couch watching this podcast, you guys.
She's always here supporting
We
me.
love it. Yes. She's so cute. Okay.
No, she's the best.
Adorable,
She's
yes.
absolutely the best. Santa Barbara we love it. We still go up. Beautiful, slow beach town, but we wanted more. And in LA, there is every opportunity under the sun. And so we made another leap of faith and decided to move out of that town where we were very happy and see what LA had to offer. So we moved here, and my thinking at the time was like, oh, I'll just get another assistant role in LA, and it's going to be like working for Billy in China, and it's going to be great, and I'm going to be so happy in like LA. Well, the first job I got down here was for someone I can't even say name.
You don't have to name drop
because
cool.
NDA, and
yeah,
I don't want to get sued, but
we don't want that for you
no,
either.
I don't
we
want
don't.
that. But I will say that was a very bad experience, and it was the first job I had after the Baldwins. So it was the polar opposite, and I was miserable, and I ended up quitting and walking out on the spot in front of this person.
Really?
Because of how they treated me and screamed at me every day, and it was not good. And that was the first time I ever stood up for myself like that, in a way that was like, I don't care how famous you are or what you've done, you will not disrespect me and you will not talk to me like that. And it felt really good. Like I'm smiling right now, just like envisioning it, because I like slammed the door in their face and just like went home to Dia and my roommates and was just like, I did it. Like I don't work for her anymore. Like I don't have to be treated like that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Honestly though, good for you, because that's something I'm just like, I'm a very respectful person. I do consider myself that, but I'm sorry, if you're not going to treat me at least like a decent human being, I don't really owe you anything.
No.
I will treat you exactly how you treat me. And the thing is though, it's like, I will not sell my soul or lower my standards just to like make you feel happy for who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note too, a few questions being like, I know some people listening might be like, that's unprofessional. This is a job. You should at least give your 2 weeks. Like it doesn't matter how they treat you. It does. We're all human and we deserve to be treated with basic dignity.
And I had tried so many times to be like, hey, I don't appreciate the way. And I was always told things like, oh, back in my day, we were never allowed to say how we felt. We would have just been fired on the spot. And so like, there's so much more to it that like, trust me, I give like month notices when I quit a job normally. This was a different situation that like, if I didn't walk out, I don't know what I would have done.
I was going to say, I know we'll get into it probably very shortly, but you were even telling me like your last boss that you did quit from like praised you for the way that you quit.
Yeah.
And you guys did have a good relationship and it makes all the difference.
Yeah. I don't like to burn bridges.
Yeah. I mean, nobody does, but there does get a point where you actually have to stand up for yourself. Like you shouldn't have to diminish your own autonomy and who you are for somebody else. You shouldn't.
Mm-mm.
And I want to ask then too, because a lot of people would probably be scared to do that, stand up for themselves. How did that make you feel?
Oh, both sides of the coin. I was very empowered, and then it was, oh my gosh, I don't have a backup plan. I don't have another job lined up. And I know not to quit one job unless you have another,
Mm-hmm.
especially growing up with financial instability. But that was something my soul needed to do. I needed to escape that. And I did. And I was so traumatized from that experience that I was like, I will not be an assistant again. I went and got a job at Trader Joe's.
Stop. Did you
Yep.
really?
hmm
Okay.
And there was like a week between the background check clearing for Trader Joe's, and I had time to be like, am I making the right decision? Should I be an assistant? Like, assistant is way better money than Trader Joe's. And I took one last little like stab at applying for an assistant role. And on the morning of my first day, I got a call that my last boss was Sophia Amoruso. I can say that one because love
Mm-hmm.
her. She wrote the book Girl Boss, founded Nasty Gal, the vintage clothing company. I got a call saying that she wanted to meet with me on the day I was scheduled to start at Trader Joe's. So we met for coffee that morning. I did an interview with her, showed up for my shift at Trader Joe's, which was like 3 to 11. And 2 hours into the shift, I'm in the uniform and everything. And I get the offer. And so I have to go up to the manager and be like, I just got a better offer. I'm gonna go. Thank you for this. Thank you
Yeah.
for your
Thank you for the
time.
opportunity.
And I walked out and started with her the next day, and that was that.
I like to think of that as divine timing, to be honest with you.
I think it was too, and that role, even though it was the last time I was an assistant, taught me so many things that I am actively applying now as a content creator. Because
Mm-hmm.
I also I ran everyone's socials, also as a personal / executive assistant. I wore so many hats. I shot all of their content. I edited all of their content. I posted all of their content, engaged with the community, responded to DM, everything. And for Sophia, I ran all of her brand partnerships, which really taught me and she taught me a lot about like pitching yourself and not being afraid to like DM or email a brand and ask for what you want. And I watched her do that, and now I do that. And that's where the thing I've been saying the past couple of weeks is closed mouths don't get fed. And I think I
Mm-hmm.
learned
Amen.
that from Sophia, because most people are like, no, like, I don't know. And I still am like that sometimes, but
It's always no until you ask.
Right.
Like you're scared they're gonna say no. It's still a no if you don't do anything about it.
that's so true. That's so true.
So I love that. And if anything too, I'm curious, did you know that all these things you were learning from her were actually gonna pay off significantly, like in the long run or where you're at right now?
While I was learning them?
Yeah.
No, I just remember learning them and thinking this is really valuable stuff to be learning, like practical stuff to be learning. I didn't think I would become a full-time content creator. I always loved social media, but I was so stuck in being an assistant that I never had the time to be like, what do I actually want to do?
Yeah.
Like, what do I want out of my life? Do I want to be doing this? I know some assistants that are like 45, no shame to them, but
If it's what you want to do, it's what you want to do by all means.
but I did not want to be in that as a 40-year-old not wanting to do that.
Yeah. I was going to say, so kind of like full circle because you no longer work for her. And if anything, though, this is why I'm like, even if it seems at the time a little bit taxing, as long as you know yourself and you know where you're going, you'd be surprised how just putting yourself out there and like previous jobs actually are bringing you to where you need to be. So good for you for like, you're like, I don't know what this is, but it feels like it's working for me. And then when you're like, wow, I've gained so much from this, I realize what I gained instead of being in that mindset where like, this just sucks. I don't want to be here anymore. If you look for the blessing in disguise and then move forward, that's when everything kind of falls into place, I feel like.
Yeah. And it's hard to do that when you're in it for
Oh,
sure.
for sure. Yeah.
But now in hindsight, I'm texting Sophia like, Sophia, you taught me everything I know. Not everything.
But a
I have
lot,
to give
yeah.
myself some credit too, but I'm texting her like, oh my gosh, I learned so much from you and now I'm doing this for myself. Like, thank you. And she's there rooting me on, and it's great to not burn bridges and keep those connections. And
Well, we were even talking, we were like, I mean, it's such a cliche or such a thing in the United States where everyone's like, don't mix business and pleasure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if you're not working with people that you trust and you genuinely enjoy working with them, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that a thriving business with negative energy and people that you don't support, trust, and want to see succeed, I don't think that's going to work out in the long term anyways. It's not sustainable. It's not joyous. And it's not like, I don't feel like that's not a productive environment.
Right.
You know, so I love that you guys still support each other.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to my next question in the end of this podcast episode in a way is leaving the job with her, was you finally deciding to choose you taking a leap of faith, being like, hey, I don't really know what's out there. I don't have that much set up right now, but I trust this is the right thing to do. Can you kind of talk me through your mindset when you quit? Because that brought us up to pretty much like your first year at Coachella alone, when you started getting a little bit of following and you're like, I think I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went to Coachella last year, 2024.
Yeah, that was 2024. Okay. Like, we don't know the years anymore. It's moving so fast.
Yeah, no, it really is. I have gone to Coachella every year since 2018. Love it. And I think I found this out recently also. It's always been an escape from whatever normal life I have. Like, it's been an escape from when I was an assistant. Like, I'm gone at a music festival for 3 or 4 days and I'm not thinking about what I do for work. I'm not thinking about my responsibilities. I'm there just like letting loose and being so free. It represents freedom to me. And so last year, no one wanted to go with me. And I was like, well, I'm still going to go. And I camped alone and everything. And because I was alone, I documented everything on my phone on TikTok. And I had like 4,000 followers. Like, I jumped on TikTok so late. I felt like ashamed that I didn't know how to work it.
Oh,
that was the first app. Like, I've been on every app and I'm like, I got this. That was the first app where I'm like, I don't know. This is intimidating. I don't understand this.
Editing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot on TikTok. It is.
Yeah. So I went, and because I was alone, I just talked to my phone. Like, this is what my camp setup looks like. The first day I got there, 4 million. And then everything snowballed after that. And by the end of the weekend, it's a 3-day festival, I had 20K. And all of these people followed along on this solo Coachella journey with me. And it was my first real taste of like, oh, wow. Like, because in my mind, I'm like doing something I already naturally love. I didn't go there to try and be a influencer. I genuinely love Coachella and go every single year. And so I did that, and people really resonated with it. And I just took all their feedback. Like, it feels like we're on FaceTime together. And it was my first real like, okay. And I went back to my assistant life, because always after a festival, like, I would always be so sad going back into my normal life after having this like free couple of days. Yeah. And it was very different growing back after experiencing that. And I was just like really unhappy, not because of Sophia. I was just unhappy with like not living for myself after experiencing like being able to do something for myself and be great by myself. And
you got a little taste and you're like, oh, I want more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a week or two after that, I just reached somewhat of a breaking point that made me be like, yeah, I got to get out of this. And I realized that I have like been sacrificing myself and what I actually want out of life for a really long time, because when you're an assistant, all you can do is focus on their life and what did they need. It's what did they need 24/7. You don't even think about what you need. And I had been like doing that for a long time. I feel like I kind of lost myself, and I just reached a breaking point where I was like, no, I got to get out of this. Yeah. And I didn't have a backup plan again. And I just gave a month and a half notice, which is so nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sophia.
I mean, I think that also gives your nervous system for you a chance to be like, I'm really doing this. I'm really doing this. Get used to it. And you're like, I'm committed. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I mean, sorry, Sophia. So like you gave a month in advance. No, I get it. I get it when you love your boss. It's like, I hate to leave, but yeah.
So I did what was right. And then I just remember like my last day was like June 7th, and last summer was my first taste, like experiencing true freedom. And I've been on that wave ever since.
You took the leap of faith.
Yeah.
Even though it was nerve-wracking probably. And it paid off.
Yeah, it really did.
And for our listeners right now, we're pretty much a year later, right? You quit almost a year ago from right now. And he's over the weekend, tripled your following from Coachella again?
Yeah.
And everything kind of fell in place from there, did it not?
Yeah, it really did.
So please, that's what we're talking about in the next episode, which we're about to shoot right now. It'll be released later this week. So please stay tuned. In the caption of this episode, we will be linking Tyler and all's content, so please check him out. And thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, and I love you.
I love you.
Ooh, thanks, guys.